Pokemon is an amazing series. We can all agree on that. For some, it's an amazing callback to their childhood in the 90s on the original black and white brick Game Boy. For others, it's a fun new adventure to explore each new region and discover each new Pokemon. For others still, it's a game with precise calculations on which stats and abilities will easily trump others in battle. While all of these different views exist, there is no definitive right way to play these games. The fanbase disagrees, however. The Gen 1ers feel that the only reason to play is for the references to Kanto in the original Gen 1 games. The EV trainers feel that anyone who is not an EV trainer is not experiencing the game to the fullest. The casuals who just play for the adventure? Well, they don't really have a definitive opinion other than that the Gen 1ers and the EV trainers are picky. Now the developers of Pokemon, Game Freak, saw how divided the fanbase was and decided to take action in an attempt to make a game that would appeal to them all. Enter Gen 6, Pokemon X and Y, my least favorite of the games that I've personally played. This game tried to appeal to all three sections of the divided fanbase all at once, but kinda fell flat on its face for doing so. They added a few things that made EV training easier, they downgraded the difficulty to absolutely laughable standards to appeal to the casual market, and they appealed to the Gen 1ers by cramming in as many references to Kanto in the original 151 as they could. Like seriously, you can't change areas twice in this game without finding some reference to Kanto. To start off this rant, I decided to go with the Gen 1 appeal. You see, I kind of have a problem with Gen 1er appeal. Now don't get me wrong, I completely understand where Game Freak is coming from by doing this. They do it in almost every game. Pokemon was at the peak of its popularity in the 90s and it was just red, blue, and yellow, so they throw in nostalgic throwbacks to appeal to the people who played and loved Gen 1. But that's the thing. Only the people who have been around for so long find it appealing. Not everyone started in Kanto though. Heck, I started in Johto! The rest of us, like me who only became a Pokemon fan in 2016, feel that Kanto is overrated and just needs to take a backseat for once. And Game Freak, if you think you can't stop referencing Kanto, then reference the other regions too! Sure, there's some references to other regions, but they're so few and far between compared to the Kanto references. Just stop with the Kanto hype, it ruins the immersion! Don't think so? Allow me to give you a real-world example. Say, for instance, tons of people in, say, Zimbabwe, I don't know, randomly talking about Bangladesh on a regular basis for literally no reason. That's what it's like when people from other regions reference Kanto. Kanto is just another region and should be treated as such. What? This whole time I've been ranting about the Gen 1er appeal, but I haven't been saying what it is? Oh. Well, there is a lot of it. And I can prove it. Of course, I already showed you the reference to Blue, but we've also got the reincarnation of Shorts Kid. We've got a reference to Bill, despite the fact that every other region we've seen has had someone else in charge of the Pokemon storage system. Literally one of the first areas in the game you go to is a one-to-one recreation of Viridian Forest, and there is a lot more that I will get into later. Let's just move on to the next segment before I lose my mind. Okay, that's out of the way. Let's move on to the second thing that irritates me about this game, the attempts to appeal to the casual market, of which I'm a member. This is probably the least consistent portion of the fanbase. Some like it easy and others like it hard. Some prefer a dark and epic story, while others prefer a silly and cartoony story. Some want a longer game and some want a shorter game. Some think shinies are awesome, others don't. The list goes on. Game Freak, in an attempt to appeal to the casual audience, made the game stupidly easy. The biggest offender is the fact that they introduced the most broken version of the EXP share we have ever seen. The EXP share seen in this game gives your entire party tons of EXP points after every battle, making them level up faster. Sure, you can turn it off, but that doesn't excuse what absolute pushovers the trainers are here in Kalos. They fall way too easily, especially the gyms. For example, the final gym leader in the game is an Ice-type user. Let's see how good Ice types can be by looking at Gen 1, in which the first member of the Elite Four was also an Ice-type user. With Charizard being part Flying type, it was completely susceptible to the Ice and Water type attacks she would throw at you, not to mention she had a party of 5. To me, she was the hardest member of the Elite Four to beat. Now let's look at XY's Ice-type gym. He only has 3 Pokemon. 3! The last gym leader should not have only half a party! Those 3 Pokemon, while decently bulky, were easily taken out by my Delphox due to, again, the absolutely broken EXP share that I kept forgetting to turn off. Also, side note, they doubled the odds of finding shinies, again to make it easier for the casuals. And oh boy, do not get me started on Team Flare. Okay, I'll get started on Team Flare because that's what you're here to see. They were the absolute most stupidest, most miserable, and easily defeated evil team in any Pokemon game. Also, they look really stupid. Freaking bright red. How is that intimidating? If you're gonna use red, use dark red like Team Magma. Anyway, this section spoils the entire plot here, so you might want to skip this section if you haven't played the game. Alright? Good. Near the start of the game, you meet a man named Lysander, who is a famed inventor. As he talks, he's all like, blah blah philosophy, blah blah I hate the world, blah blah you could be one of the chosen ones. Gee, I wonder who the villain is! Also, side note, shortly before meeting Lysander, you choose a Kanto starter for literally no reason other than more Gen 1 or appeal. I swear this game is just Gen 1 2.0. Even the name of the region, Kalos, is similar to the name of Kanto. There's too much Gen 1 nostalgia in this game! Okay, rant over, back to Team Flare. You meet the first Team Flare grunts in a cave where they're threatening a scientist for some fossils he's excavating. Gee, an evil team who we first encounter in a cave who's looking for fossils. I wonder where we've seen that before. Of course! That's yet another item on the ever-increasing list of Gen 1 callbacks. Anyway, as the game continues, you encounter them several more times throughout the game on your adventure, as you do with evil teams in Pokemon games. But they are literally the easiest evil team battles in the series. Seriously, even Team Skull, who were somewhat pushovers, were harder to beat than these fools. So Team Flare pops up occasionally for no reason other than to remind you that they exist. But they do have two relatively minor evil plans they execute throughout the game. First, they invade and take control of Kalos' power plant, potentially a reference to Kanto with the fact that Kanto is the only other region we've seen with a power plant. Then they invade a Pokeball factory. You stop them both times with such ease that I literally forgot those events happened until I was writing this segment of the script. Late in the game, it's revealed that, gasp, Lysander was the leader of Team Flare the whole time. Oh no, who could have guessed? He claims to have access to an ultimate weapon that will wipe out the whole world and leave only Team Flare behind. Wait, I'm sorry. What? Team Flare, the absolute stupidest, derpiest, and easiest evil team in the whole series, and they're the ones with the darkest plot in the series? I'm sorry, but that just doesn't add up. The whole game, they've been presented as just another Team Rocket who exists solely for the game to have a villain. The whole game, they're set up as the oddball and the laughingstock of the entire Pokemon villain lineup. The whole game, you're meant to laugh at them for failing miserably. They're literally designed to look funny. I briefly mentioned the bright red outfits, but I mean, come on! How can you take them seriously? And they're the ones who want to commit genocide? Game Freak, what were you thinking? If you wanted to give us a silly plot, that's fine. I'm okay with that. This is a series meant for kids after all. What I'm not okay with is when that silly plot takes a complete 180 out of nowhere and suddenly the comic relief villains are the greatest threat the planet has ever seen. That would be like if Jar Jar were to be revealed to be a mastermind Sith Lord. Oh wait, bad example. That would be like if Hao from Gen 7 were revealed to be the big boss of the Aether Foundation. It's just... no! Anyway, take them down and never see them again until the post-game, which I will not spoil because I thought it was actually one of the best post-games in all of Pokemon, albeit really short. So why did I group Team Flare with the casual appeal? Well, the way I see it, Game Freak saw that some people wanted silly cartoony stories and others wanted dark and serious stories. In response to this huge divide, they created Team Flare to at first seem silly to appeal to those people, but then they turned dark to appeal to the ones who wanted a more dark and mature story. The problem is that those two tones don't mix well at all, so Team Flare comes across as all the wrong things. Gen 7, Sun and Moon pulled off the silly villains and the dark story much better, because Team Skull weren't the ones with the big bad evil plan. They were just bullies that nobody, not even people in-universe, took seriously. And with that, we move on to the last point, competitive training.